Hello, and welcome to our presentation on the role of charting the life course in the transition process across the lifespan. My name is Mary Ann Kane-Bresci. I'm the parent of a young woman with multiple disabilities, and I'm also the Director of Family Supports for the Developmental Disability Administration in Maryland. Maryland joined the National Community Practice for Supporting Families in 2016. The work of the Maryland Community Practice is led by our statewide leadership team, of which Towson University, in particular, the Department of Special Education, is one. While the group works together to address systemic issues, individual members are tasked with implementing the principles and tools within its agency, organization, or work to better support families and people with disabilities. For example, the Developmental Disability Administration created 2 new waivers to get people off the waiting list and increase the number served in Maryland. Today, you will hear from Dr. Gregory Nolman, Assistant Professor in the Department of Special Education at Towson University. He is a sibling of a brother with developmental disabilities and is a Charting the Life Course ambassador.
Thank you, Mary Ann. So the first thing I want to talk about is the research, considering what we know and need to know. Certainly, Charting the Life Course framework and tools guide a person-centered system-wide policy and practice. These changes occur across the country, and many university centers of excellence in developmental disabilities have incorporated or adopted Charting the Life Course framework, as well as multiple states implementing the guiding principles of the framework within their own practices. In education, we focus on person-centered planning and those approaches. It's been around since the mid-1980s. And as Sjogren, Waymire, and Thompson note, the emphasis on person-centered planning approaches is ensuring that the focus is on the person with a disability when identifying valued life outcomes, where to live, work, learn, and play, and creating systems of support that actualize these outcomes rather than allowing currently available services to dictate what is possible and what are reasonable goals for the future. We know Charting the Life Course framework was developed for families by families, and teachers play a critical role in the transition process. Along with those students, along with those family members, we all want to see individuals striving for that vision for a good life that includes the transition to college and careers. So to help us, when we were taking back some of this information to our university and thinking about how do we incorporate Charting the Life Course into our coursework, it started with some reflection, some self-reflection. We were fortunate to have a few staff members who went through the ambassador training series through the University of Missouri, Kansas City. And through that process, we had to work with many of those Charting the Life Course tools. It's interesting because we're doing this in light of a pandemic, and so many of us are, of course, developing these integrated support stars around supports that we need as we're trying to find access to technology and engage with community supports, largely through remote and social distance practices. We know that, of course, there's a larger community of learners and supports needed in transition planning for individuals with disabilities. And I would argue for all students who are making that transition from middle school and high school into adult life. Certainly the student, the family member, related services like speech, occupational therapy, physical therapy, and others are absolutely integral in schools. We also know that educators and school administrators play a critical role, as do paraeducators. But we also know that there's a number of state and community agencies and supports that also provide critical support to individuals and their families as well, including vocational rehabilitation, the Behavioral Health Administration, Developmental Disabilities Administration, and many other community supports. It's important for educators to increase their knowledge and possible use of Charting the Life Course tools and resources because in some respects it could strengthen the potential for collaboration, offering an opportunity for educators, parents, youth, and service providers to work together to build a common language around the service and supports that are available during these critical stages of transition across the lifespan. At Towson, we wanted to then explore exactly how we could incorporate or infuse Charting the Life Course into our coursework. We started first with a workshop inviting individuals from the University of Missouri, Kansas City to come out and actually provide an in-service training for our undergraduates, graduate students, some of our faculty members, and community members as well. And we had roughly 100 people attend. Surprisingly, 93% of the respondents had not attended or viewed LifeCourse events prior to attending the workshop. 93% had no or limited knowledge about charting the LifeCourse. 28% had no knowledge of the effect of past and current disability policies and practices on available services, and 99% could not list or describe sections of the integrated support star. And yet, in our audience, again, those almost 100 strong, we had 83% who were connected in education in some way, as teachers, as paraeducators, as parents or family members who had school-age children. 44% had experience working with early childhood education. And you can see 22% had some involvement at that level of transition at the middle school and high school level. All of this is absolutely critical in knowing that just in our community alone, among the teachers that are in service and those in pre-service, just are not very familiar with charting the LifeCourse. There's a lot of work that we can be doing to expand this effort to educators that are practicing in local schools. They walked through a workshop in which in the morning they received a group instruction from a trainer at UMKC to learn about the framework and principles. In the afternoon, 32 of those graduate students received additional training and support on individual tools that they would incorporate into their own practice, whether that be in the individualized education program, the individualized transition planning process, or in other forms of person-centered planning that they were doing with individual families as a team member. By the end of the training and by the end of the graduate coursework, we saw that many of the students now had a much stronger understanding of charting the LifeCourse principles and could explain some of that to others. Our next step is really to ensure that we offer additional opportunities for collaboration, where we are asking our students to develop new opportunities to strengthen existing relationships with their students and families, to include information in school-wide professional supports and ensure students are prepared to transition to independent and semi-independent living, to advocate for the students and families, to reinforce opportunities for students to focus on self-advocacy, and to remain open-minded. We appreciate your time today, and we also look forward to spending the next year researching, reflecting, exploring, and collaborating in new ways to expand our use of charting the LifeCourse framework in our undergraduate and graduate coursework, and in our pre-service and in-service professional development. So we want to also thank the Maryland Developmental Disabilities Administration for including us as a community of practice member, the Maryland Developmental Disabilities Council for providing the small grant to introduce the workshop, the University of Missouri Kansas City Lifespan Institute for their support with the tools and teaching us about the framework, the parent presenters and CtLC facilitators who so willingly gave their time to our graduate and undergraduate students, our pre-service and in-service teachers and families, and to Kay Holman, the director of the Towson University College of Education Teachers as Leaders in Autism Spectrum Disorder Concentration. And we want to thank you for your time and consideration.